Hi everyone, this is XaVonni with Innova X and on air with the artists. I am here with the amazing Jerry Alt, amazing photographer. So welcome, excited to interview you. Great, so I would love to definitely hear just about you and how did you get into the photography business? But everyone knows you.
Oh, I don't know that everyone knows me. I actually started my interest in photography back when I was 10 years old. So my mom bought me a camera at a rummage sale. Took pictures, very sparingly back then, a little black and white Kodak thing probably. And then through college, got a little more interested in it. And as I continued my other career, my last career, I focused mostly on landscape and wildlife and really not people. But
For how long?
well, I did that for, I don't know, however long that was since I was 10. So it's been a while. But 10 years ago, the real question is how long I've been doing this. So 10 years ago, I went to Australia, bought one lens and one camera. So I had something nice to take and took 1,000 pictures. People wanted to buy them when I came home. And I just said, you know what, I got to be better. This is not National Geographic. So I took it upon myself to find the smartest people I could, the best photographers I knew, which were not that many at the time, and just kept working at my craft. I decided to leave my last profession, I guess it was 4 years ago now. But I've had a studio for 5 years. This is my second studio. And this is all I do full time now.
That is so awesome. So ever since you were young, this was your passion, just pursuing photography. That is just fantastic. Are there any influences that in photography that inspired your style of photography, or is there any mentors that you learned from, or anything like that?
Well, now I do primarily, model portfolio, fashion,
Right.
headshots for business. When I was doing the wildlife work, I used to call myself portraitist because I like getting in there close, So just driving on the road and saying, oh, look, there's a deer was a lot different than hiking out in the woods and ending up like I have, 5 or 10 feet from a grizzly bear. And then you really kind of get to know
the
but yeah, I've worked on light. And of course, if you go back and you think of photographers, Ansel Adams, who had to do it the hard way with mules going up into Yosemite and taking pictures on glass slides and whatever. I care about light. I care about shadow. I think it's very important. It's, when you're making a photograph, you're not just clicking the lens. I think too many people take the easy way now. Everybody's a photographer because they've all got a phone.
Right.
And we're in a
Yep.
selfie world. I get this all the time from models who say, oh, I take bad pictures. I said, it's because you take them all from 2.5 feet away from your face. You don't get to do anything other than click that phone. So I really have spent a lot of time and effort to, become a creator of images using light and shadow.
Using light and shadow. Yeah, you're right. You do feel like it's become basically watered down. Everyone's just a photographer now, and we're just, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I get, for instance, earlier this afternoon, I had a woman say, hey, I want to get back into modeling. I need to build my portfolio. I said, okay, fine. Send me a link to wherever you got your images. 90% of them have Snapchat filters on them. So she's wearing ears and whiskers and stars and hearts. And I mean, that doesn't reflect who the person is. And obviously, if you're in the fashion world or trying to attract an agency to discover you, you've got to discard all of that.
Yeah, like nowadays it's become more of like the Instagram model type of thing, and just individuals just getting more into fashion and modeling for the fun of it, which I think is still awesome. I still think that's great, being in publicity myself. What advice do you give for models? I'm going to ask you for advice for the photographers, but also models. What advice do you give for them in getting prepared for a good photo shoot?
Well, I've got, and again,
and building their career.
Use today's example. I have a one-page sheet that I send out to anybody who wants to come in for a model portfolio, telling them how to prepare. I do a workshop on building model portfolios that I've taught to other photographers. And a lot of that has to do, well, it's really two parts. One of it is, how to find models, how to set expectations up front. But also there's a portion of it on helping your model perform their best, learning how to pose people, learning how to give them tips on how to present themselves the best way. And that's what I do with the models when I'm working.
Yeah. Yeah, typically when a photographer works with a model, they don't have that. They just, meet them and negotiate terms and whatever, and then they just kind of wing it. So that's really good that you're educating the models.
Well, I did that in my very first studio with my very first set of lights. Another photographer who didn't have a studio wanted to come by. He brought 3 models. Mm-hmm. They had hair, and they had makeup artists, and they had a stylist. And it was a big production. And then when he said, hey, do you want to jump in and shoot? I kind of said, okay, do your model thing. Like I expected, if they're a model, they knew what to do. And it didn't take long to realize that most people don't, because they haven't been given any direction.
Right. I mean, it's just step by step, and they have to build up what they know. And they need more people like you who are educators who are going to give advice on how to basically stand out, because you stand out so much here in Chicago. Certainly, I know almost every model that I know knows about you or has worked with you. It's just so fantastic.
Well, they need to pick up the phone because I got open days. So.
You probably have a lot of pictures to go through as well.
But no, I've got, when you talk about influences, I can now count these people as friends. I didn't know who they were, 6 or 8 years ago, but Lindsay Adler, who's very well known, internationally published fashion photographer in New York. I consider her a friend. And she and I talk about things. So I've learned posing from her. Sue Bryce is another one, almost exclusively women, very much in demand. I think she books something like 4 to 6 months in advance. And so they're very much about, what to do with the hands, how to position the body, how to make anyone, regardless of their size, their age, their complexion, making them look their best. And so I spend a lot of time trying to do that because it's my work product. I can't, expect that every model who walks in or every client who walks in is going to be a size 02 with 10 years of fashion runway experience and just hits the mark the moment.
I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Working with shadows, you're able to put the right amount of light on curves and really show a person's physique or woman's physique. I was speaking to a curvy model like myself about that, and she hated her pictures, but some of the pictures came out good. And I saw her, and I thought she looked beautiful in almost all the pictures. But when she was looking at it, she's like, "Oh, I don't like the way my curve look here. It's based on lighting, And I was like, "Whoa, you're right. It is based on lighting. Well, the photographer needs to understand the lighting.
It's a variety of things. For instance,
and the pose as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. Lighting certainly helps because the camera just captures what's in front of it, but it's not only posing the person. If I'm shooting headshots of a businessman who's as broad as I am or bigger, I'm not going to shoot them like this. They're going to look like oversized football players, right? So you always want to turn just a little bit, about 30 degrees, bring that head back, bring the collarbones forward so that the head is the focus and not the body. Same thing if you're shooting boudoir. If you've got a larger, curvier woman who loves the curves, then let's embrace them. But if they don't like their stomach or they think their booty's too big or whatever, then position them so you're shooting the face and the rest of the body kind of, first of all, relatively speaking, it's further away, so it's going to look smaller. But the other thing is it's going to be softer as well, and they're going to look better.
See, right there, you guys, there goes amazing advice right there. And I know you also do workshops and have some workshops planned coming up. Are there any special projects like that?
There's an agency model that I've shot, who I have shot a couple of times. She and I are planning a kind of a modeling 101 here at the studio in mid-November. Haven't got the specifics on it yet, but I'll be happy to share it with you. So she's with an agency here, just got signed by 2 agencies in New York. She walked in New York Fashion Week for Forever 21, and now she's going to Paris Fashion Week. So I'm going to talk about working with models in terms of being prepared for your best session. Hair and makeup, the importance of having either 10 nails with no polish or at least having all of them the same color, bringing a basic wardrobe, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
And also how to interview and find the right photographers. You know, we as professionals refer to some people as GWCs, guys with camera, you know, and those are every model who's got some creep story in their history has worked with a GWC. You know, somebody who took 3 or 4 shots and then said, hey, let's try it without your clothes on. You know, they drag down the rest of the profession, but more importantly, they're not helping you build your career. So one of the most important things that I told young models is, even if you don't like my photos, go home and throw everything away that you've done to this date and start from here and build a solid portfolio.
Ooh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what about advice for photographers? You gave me some for models to prepare. What about photographers who preparing for a shoot?
I mean, there's lots of basics. One is set your expectations up front. I mean, it's not hard. I hear from photographers, oh, where am I going to find models?
Right.
Really? Because there's thousands of women who would like to be beautiful, and guys as well. I mean, I probably shoot more guys in my studio than the average photographer who does model work. And that's because I really don't care who's in front of my camera.
That's great.
You know, I just want to make them, you know, outstanding. And I want them to represent my work, and their portfolio images become my calling cards. So first thing is, you know, to find a model, set expectations up front. I mean, to be honest, if you say, look, I'm a hobbyist, I just want pictures of pretty girls with little or no clothes on, then say that up front. Don't surprise somebody in your basement, you know, 15 minutes into the shoot and say, oh, that's what I expected. So
right, I hear you.
You know, treat them as a professional, give them privacy. That's important. You know, I've got private changing areas like here in my studio. Don't touch models. Please don't do that. You'll end up on some model beware page, and that's, you know, one of the big no-nos for me.
Yeah, and be considerate of the model's age as well.
Well, yeah, age appropriate is, I mean, I've said no to as many models as I've said yes to when they bring up certain subject matters. You know, on the back end, you know, explain that you're going to want a model release, but tell them how many images they expect to get and when they should expect to get them.
Right.
And do that up front, not 2 months later when they're complaining, because as a photographer, now you're just earning a bad reputation. You know, this guy never gives me images. Well, yeah, I'm sure you do weddings. It's the middle of the summer. You're busy. Then tell your models up front, hey, it might be a while before you get these back.
Yeah, you're right. And like right now I'm waiting for some pictures, and I usually prefer my pictures within 2 weeks, a month or so. Like that's the max. When it is past that, it feels like you're losing publicity. You're just losing that attention and buzz. So I totally agree, or at least, you know, have.
And you might change your hairstyle in the meantime.
And then you just publish the pictures. And you're like, hey, this was, But then again, totally get what you're saying. So what is one of your favorite projects that you've worked on? Because your pictures are so beautiful. Is there a certain type of look or process? Maybe the powder, maybe the gold, or what I know there you know your favorites.
You mentioned 2 of the ones that take a lot of time and effort. But interesting, you mentioned the gold, so I'll talk about that. I had a model who I'd never heard of, just reached out to me on Instagram and said, hey, I want to do something different, unique. I want to stand out. Okay, what did you have in mind? Have you ever painted somebody gold? Well, I had used gold metallic paint, silver metallic paint as accents, you know, like for collarbones and cheeks and whatever, as part of a creative concept. But she said, no, I want to be that Bond girl. I want to be gold. So I researched the way to do it, talked to my makeup artist, and it turns out if you want them to look shiny and wet, you use baby oil with the powdered paint instead of the mixing fluid that most people would use that dries on your skin. So it was a very unique look. It came out really, really good. And in fact, I have a 4-foot square photo of the girl from that session on my wall in the studio.
Beautiful.
Since then, I've had, well, I just painted another girl today. So I've probably done 7 or 8 gold, a silver, a rose gold, a copper. that's been really interesting. And so one of those Sunday of this last week, a dancer came in to shoot with me. Mm-hmm. And she saw that and she said, oh, can we do the gold? Well, it takes this and it takes that and a variety of things. And, okay, I'm down for it. Well, I took one of the images from Sunday. I gave it back to her fully edited by Monday because I loved it so much. I submitted it to a print competition, the Professional Photographer Association of Northern Illinois, on Tuesday, and I won Best in Show with it on Wednesday. Woo! So it's going to end up getting submitted to the international print competition in a few months, along with others. But that, it was an interesting image. The gold paint just made it different. A dancer could hit that pose.
I saw it. I was stunned because she's a dancer, because she has a physicality in order to do that really great positioning with the gold and just the proportions. Oh, stunning.
Yeah.
Love to see a calendar to work.
She wasn't happy with her body, but she loved that.
Insane. There's no way.
I made it look good. So since I published that, or since I posted that on my Facebook page a couple of days ago, I think there's certainly over 400 likes on that post so far, but I've booked 2 more women who want to be painted like that this week. So
that is so fantastic.
But there's an amount of work in it, and without getting into the details, it looks better if you're completely painted. So you get my idea. But the powder, doing the powder shoot, other people have done powder, but yeah, I was supposed to do a full weekend of the holy powder and throwing that and having it in their hair and doing everything. Yep. Actually, when we did it before, I built a tent out of plastic and we shot inside the tent. And so we were going to do it again, but there's so many events going on this time of year. I'm going to wait till after the holidays and do that again. Because it takes...
Right. Fashion Week's coming up as well. It's getting
right. That's why I said a lot of people wanted to do it, but then when it came down to it, I said, it's too much work for one person. But some of the other things, I love doing creative lighting. I've done patterns. I've shot through bubble wrap, wire fencing. I wrapped the door screen material around a model and did a very high key silvery thing. And, I love it. But I do a lot of headshots too, so I don't know what I'm on track to do this year, but last year I did about 600 headshots, which isn't a lot for some people, but it sounds like a tremendous amount. It's 20 a week, or not 20 a week. It's 10 to 15 a week. I did more than that probably the year before. So that's kind of the bread and butter. And I have time to do. I've built somewhat of a reputation for doing artistic maternity. And the nice thing about young models is eventually a certain number of them decide they're going to have babies, and then they come back to me and I end up doing that. So
you paint the belly. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm very, very excited. My birthday is coming up next month. Maybe there'll be some painting there. Put you on display with your work. Also, just to let everybody know, we did do a photo shoot that's going to be in my magazine, Thick Magazine. The pictures are a secret, so wait till the copy comes out.
You don't want me to pull out that canvas and show everybody right now?
And thank you so much. I would love you to share also your social media so everyone can connect with you as well.
Okay. Well, I'm Jerry Alton. You said hi, but I'm Jerry with a J on Facebook. My studio page on Facebook is Alt Imagery, ALTIMAGERY, and the same thing on Instagram.
Okay, wonderful. And that's On Air with the Artist. Thank you so much for your time, Jerry, and I'll catch you around.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
Pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.